What if I told you that the secret to generating millions in assets under management for your financial firm isn't the viral content, million view videos, or expensive ad campaigns? What if the real money is in what most people would call boring videos? And so just yesterday, we closed a client that mentioned he watched our YouTube video before the call and it helped him understand the entire process. And that video has 14 views, not 14,000, not 1,400, literally 14 views. But that one video directly contributed to a deal worth hundreds of thousands in potential revenue. This is the reality that most businesses miss. They're chasing all these vanity metrics, likes, engagement, but the real money is sitting in actually being able to use your video in your sales process with your leads. And you don't need to go viral. You don't need millions of views. And many times this can be contrary to what you actually want to do as a financial firm. And so you really just need the right people watching your content at the right time. And I currently use video to generate 30 plus leads for financial firms with what most people would call boring videos. 2 years ago, when I was 16 years old, we scaled a video production company to more than 6 figures without ever going viral or even spending a dime on ads. And so in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to create boring videos that bring in millions for your firm. And as proof of this method, I'm going to commit to posting 1 to 3 videos weekly for the next year, and you'll see the progress I make personally while I document it in real time. So I want to tell a story real quick, right? When I was a young kid, I was running around during recess and I banged my head on some sort of metal railing. It started to bleed super badly. We ended up having to go to the hospital, but I didn't realize it at all. I felt a little bit of pain, thought it was just a small bump or bruise, but as we were lining up to go back to class, my teacher, she sent me to the office to print a paper. And as I was walking away, she noticed blood dripping down the back of my head, and she rushed me to get help. And so I'm telling you this because it perfectly demonstrates how so often we don't recognize our own patterns. We don't recognize our own problems until somebody else points it out. And in business, we're often bleeding revenue, losing potential clients, and missing opportunities because we're so focused on what we think would work than what actually does work. And so most financial firms, they're chasing the wrong metrics. They're seeing videos with hundreds of thousands of views, and they just assume that this video is what converts. This video with hundreds of thousands of views is what gets clients in the door. But here's what they're missing. Those million views might convert 0 clients, like absolutely 0 clients. But having 10-minute explainer videos, literal boring, the most boring videos to the point where you don't even want to watch the video back, can generate much more than just 3 high value clients. And so the financial industry is super susceptible to this because we're dealing with people's life savings. And when somebody's looking for a financial advisor, they're not looking to be entertained. They're looking for expertise, trust, and clear communication. And they want to understand what you do, how you do it, and why they should choose you over everyone else in the market. And so let's talk about, why boring videos actually work. And with the inflation concerns, market volatility, all of this, economic instability, people are more cautious than ever about their financial decisions. And they're doing more research, they're watching more content, and taking longer to make these big decisions. And the reason for this is simply because of the state of the market right now. So this trend actually favors boring, educational content. And when someone searches for, how to plan retirement for 2025 or what to do with their 401k, they're not looking for something flashy. In fact, if you look that up right now, nobody's going to show up. No financial firm is going to show up. They're all simply financial creators because that is who people trust, not people that have the intent of selling for them. And so by positioning yourself in these spaces and filling those gaps and actually having genuine intentions for your audience, you are able to reap the benefits as well. And so they want this comprehensive information from someone that actually knows what they're talking about. This works because it aligns with how people actually make decisions. Nobody just wakes up and decides to give away all of their life savings to some random advisor. They want to see you face to face. They want to know who they're talking to even before they book a call, before they send that first message, before they do anything that has to do with your firm. And so watching this 15-minute deep conversation with you gives them the ability to do that before ever having to meet you. And so all of this is helpful, it's good information, but how do you actually go about doing it? How do you create the content? And this framework I'm going to show you is great because it shows you exactly how to provide value instead of promote. And once you focus on providing value, once you sow that seed, you will eventually reap the benefits. And so number one is about making yourself the absolute best option, right? This is all about your hook. It's not about being flashy or being controversial, but instead it's about establishing credibility and promising specific value. They need a reason to consume your content. The hook needs to tell them exactly what they're going to learn and why it matters for them specifically. And financial professionals have a huge advantage here because you're dealing with the real outcomes. So be specific, solve specific problems, speak as if you're literally speaking one-on-one with your ICP before they even meet you. It's pretty much having a coffee with your prospect. And this is how you're going to be able to connect to leads at such scale. Now, once you're coming up with your topics, the way to do this is literally just go back, go through your calendar, go through the far past, recent past, and just think, what happened this morning? What happened last week? What meetings were you on? Look through your calendar and see, okay, how were you able to provide value in the past? Because you're always on meetings with these clients, explaining different things, but transforming that into real content is where the real value will kick in. You can start that with recent past, but also going into your far past. Maybe it was the first time you helped somebody through kind of financial difficulties during 2020, talking about that experience. Maybe it's 2008 and you had specific clients during the time that you can speak on there. Or you can speak on the present. Have a note, just a simple iCloud note that you keep that allows you to write these moments down as they come up. Once you're able to capture these, you can immediately turn them into content. And then lastly, just trends, things that are going on in the world, things that are happening, and using that to your advantage so that your audience can then learn how it may affect them. Now that you have your topic, you need to create, a good headline. And headlines need to make them click in the first place. Otherwise, you'll have this amazing video that nobody watches. And so everyone, whether you're in financial spaces or just any random niche, is going to focus to these 5 things. Those are recency, relevancy, conflict, how unusual it is, and whether it's ongoing or not. And so, for example, recency, you could say there's a new limit that needs to be explained for your prospect to understand how that might affect their retirement. There could be relevancy, where it's relevant to them, your specific niche, your specific ICP, and how they might benefit from that. Or conflict, why your current financial advisor might be giving you terrible advice, or how they might be doing that for themselves and not knowing it. Unusualness and having things that create a contrast. Ongoing topics work as well, kind of updating your prospect as a process is taking place. Now, lastly, your packaging and your format is one of the most important things for your video. Your videos should really just look like the content that professionals are already putting out there. So that just means having a clean background, having great audio. I would recommend one of these Rode Go-To mics. They're great for just capturing quick audio. I have it plugged into my laptop and I'm set. Clear visuals when explaining different concepts. You can go on, I believe it's called Engato, and you can get animation presets that are literally plug and play to make your video look better. Having a professional appearance, throwing on a polo at the bare minimum, if not a button down, just to show that you actually take this content seriously. And you're not competing. This is very important to keep in mind. You're not competing with people that are entertaining. You're competing with other financial educators. Now, lastly, you have to keep your audience watching. You have to retain them. And the easiest way to do this are lists, steps, and stories. Lists are just steps without the order required. So a list could be 3 ways that I'm going to help you do this. A step could be, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3. And then stories, you want to weave these in throughout the entire content. Whether you use the lists or steps, having stories throughout the entire video will make the process that much smoother. Now, a few keys here, right? You want to embed questions in your prospect's mind. You want them to ask the questions to themselves before you answer it for them. For example, you could say, here's what most people don't realize about compound interest. Now your prospect is wondering, what is that? What do they need to learn? What do you know that they don't? And using contrast is what will pique attention. When you think about it, you realize 100 years ago, 200 years ago, if you weren't able to tell the difference between a bear footprint and a human footprint, you were plain dead. And so the human brain is instinctively inclined to pay attention to differences, pay attention to things that sound new. And so if you can position your content to sound that way and teach them something, then you will be able to use this to your advantage. Now, lastly, simply reward by delivering real value. Now, every single piece of content has to genuinely help them, it has to give them actionable steps so that they can make better financial decisions. Now, obviously, you have a little bit of limitation here when it comes to compliance. You can't say exactly what to do without a strong disclaimer. However, you can give them surface level tips. You can give them real strategies that they can implement immediately. And so you're going to give out the secrets, give out the things that you use for your clients, the different strategies, the different approaches you have, and then sell the implementation. That's where you will make the money. Look, if somebody watches your video about, emergency funds, they should know how they should go about doing that without giving them specific advice and without having to say this in a way that isn't compliant. You are able to give out actual secrets that they can then implement. And so your reward in your audience's mind is measured by value per minute. If you're able to stack the most value in every single minute of their time, they will retain and they will feel the reward. They'll like the video and even share it with their friends. And so you want to avoid expensive entertainment. I use this phrase all the time. We are creating content that converts, not entertaining videos that just get millions of views. And so by providing value and focusing on how you can help your prospect, this is how you will be able to use that for your advantage. Now, just a quick recap, don't chase virality, specify and chase the right viewers, not more views. Teach, don't entertain. Use stories, steps, and lists, and then grow trust, not vanity metrics. Now, you have 2 options, right? You can implement this for yourself and spend 40 plus hours monthly just figuring out how to actually produce this high quality content, or you can apply to work with us below and get the entire system installed and automated for you. Now, we're only accepting a few new applicants for the next week, and then after that, we'll likely have to close admissions or raise prices until September just to maintain exclusivity and effectiveness for our current clients. So if you're interested, the link will be below, apply.lucernacollective.com. If you're interested, I'll see you there. Looking forward to speaking.